Hello everyone. Welcome to Super Hits Movies. Today, I'm going to explain the movie Avengers 4, Endgame 2019. When the movie starts, we see Clint Barton, that is Hawkeye, spending time with his family. On the other hand, the Avengers team is fighting Thanos. But now that Thanos has obtained the 6 Infinity Stones, he finally snaps his fingers. Because of this, half the population of the universe disappears, and Clint's family is among those killed. Now, he is the only survivor in his family. At first, Clint Barton doesn't understand where his family has gone. But when the reality comes before him, that his entire family has died because of Thanos, he finally decides that he will kill all the bad people in the world. That is why Clint leaves behind his old identity and takes on the role of a masked killer. Meanwhile, Tony Stark, the Iron Man, is traveling with Nebula, returning to Earth from Titan. He has already spent 22 days on this journey. After these 22 days, his food and water supply runs out, and Tony's health starts to deteriorate badly. Since Nebula is a cyborg, she is unaffected by the lack of food and water. But Tony has to endure all these difficulties, and he gradually begins to lose hope. Eventually, he sits down in his chair, prepared to die, and waits for the end. But at that moment, a miracle happens. Carol Danvers, that is Captain Marvel, appears. As soon as Carol sees the ship, she rushes forward to help. She then brings the ship safely back to Earth. Captain Marvel is introduced here as a very important and powerful character. It is also shown that when Thanos snapped using the Infinity Stones, people across the universe were turning into ashes. At that same moment, Nick Fury managed to send a message to Captain Marvel using his device. When Captain Marvel received the message, she immediately started heading towards Earth. On her way, she noticed Tony Stark's stranded ship, which is why she brought it back to Earth as well. After arriving on Earth, Carol learns all the details about Thanos. When she realizes how powerful Thanos really is, she suggests an idea to the Avengers. Why don't we collect all the Infinity Stones again? We can use them to restore everyone who died, and at the same time end Thanos once and for all. Just then, the Avengers receive a special piece of information from their system. Rocket tells them that when Thanos snapped, it created a wave across the entire universe, something that had never been seen before, and the exact same wave appeared again in a distant galaxy just 2 days ago. So they begin to wonder if Thanos has snapped once more. Because of this, they realize that Thanos must have used the Infinity Stones again. By tracking the energy signature of this wave, the Avengers are able to locate him. They travel by spaceship to the planet where Thanos is now living. Here we see Thanos, looking weak and exhausted. The Avengers confront him, capture him, and demand to know where the Infinity Stones are. Thanos tells them that he destroyed the stones by using their own power, so that no one could ever bring them together again or restore the universe. Hearing this, Thor becomes furious. In his rage, he strikes Thanos with his axe, killing him by cutting his throat. Now, with the Infinity Stones gone, there is no hope left of bringing back all those who had vanished. The Avengers are devastated and go their separate ways. After this, Thor settles in a new place in Norway. He has completely lost his courage. He feels he has failed, first by not stopping Thanos, and now by being unable to bring back the stones. Thor grows lazy, drowns himself in alcohol, and lets himself go, becoming overweight. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner spends years working on combining his intelligence with the Hulk's strength. Eventually, he succeeds and becomes Professor Hulk, a form with both Hulk's power and Banner's brilliant mind. On the other hand, Captain America forms a support group where he helps survivors cope. He teaches them not to dwell on the past, but to focus on the future and how to rebuild their lives. Tony Stark, Iron Man, has married Pepper Potts and they now have a daughter. Tony chooses to live a peaceful, quiet life with his family, away from the chaos of the world. 5 years pass. During this time, Ant-Man, Scott Lang, who had been trapped in the quantum realm when Thanos snapped, finally returns. He was stuck inside the lab's van, where the quantum machine was stored. A rat accidentally activates the machine, which allows Scott to escape and come back into the world. But the world he returns to is completely different from the one he left behind. The dimension there, the flow of time, everything was completely different from our world. In that realm, 5 hours were equal to 5 years in our world. When Thanos snapped his fingers and erased half the population, 5 years passed in our world. But in that dimension, only 5 hours went by. When Scott Lang finally returned after spending just 5 hours there, he discovered that everything had changed. His daughter had grown 5 years older. Realizing the situation, Scott immediately went to the Avengers. He explained that while 5 years had passed here since Thanos' snap, only 5 hours had passed for him. Scott told Captain America that if they could learn how to properly use the Pym particles in that dimension, they could travel back in time 5 years and fix everything that went wrong. Hearing this, Steve Rogers, Captain America, agreed with him. So Ant-Man, Captain America, and Black Widow all went to Tony Stark, Iron Man, to ask for his help. Tony was living peacefully with his family in a house at a hill station. The three explained their plan. If they used the quantum realm properly, they could travel back in time and undo all the damage. But Tony knew how dangerous this could be. Attempting it might put his family at great risk. So Tony flatly refused to join them. The Avengers left disappointed. Since Tony had refused, they went straight to Bruce Banner, who was now Professor Hulk. With Bruce's brilliant mind, he agreed to help them. Together, they began working on a time machine. But after a series of experiments, they discovered that Hulk's time machine wasn't functioning properly. It was unable to send them to the exact time they needed. Meanwhile, Tony was shown in his lab at home, still running calculations with his AI, Jarvis. Suddenly, his codes aligned perfectly, and he realized he had successfully solved the formula for time travel. This forced him to reconsider his decision. Initially, he had thought only of keeping his family safe. But then his wife, Pepper Potts, reminded him he couldn't sacrifice the entire world just for the sake of their safety. She told him not to worry about them, but to do what was right and save everyone. She assured him that it would be a blessing, even for their family. Moved by her words, Tony decided to help. He perfected the time machine and then went straight to Steve Rogers. There, he returned Captain America's shield made of vibranium. After that, Natasha goes to Tokyo to bring Clint Barton back. She tries to make him understand that being a masked killer and murdering people will never bring him peace. True satisfaction will only come when he has his family back in front of him, and the Avengers can help make that happen. Meanwhile, Rocket and Hulk travel to Norway, where Thor is living. But Thor had completely let himself go. He had become lazy, overweight, and detached from battles, drowning in his failures. Looking at him, it seemed as if he was no longer of any use. However, Rocket and Hulk try to reason with him. They tell him that if the time machine works, he will get the chance to finally take revenge on Thanos, and together they can bring back everyone who was lost from the universe. Hearing this, Thor agrees to join them. With that, the Avengers begin testing the time machine. The superheroes split into different groups, each assigned to travel to different points in time to collect the Infinity Stones. Tony Stark, Hulk, Ant-Man, and Captain America travel to the year 2012, during the Battle of New York. According to that timeline, 3 Infinity Stones were present there: the Time Stone, the Space Stone, and the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone was the same one Thanos had once given to Loki. Tony and Ant-Man head to Avengers Tower to steal the Space Stone. But their plan fails when Hulk suddenly appears and disrupts their mission. The Space Stone slips from their hands, and Loki escapes with it. Meanwhile, Captain America comes face to face with his past self, 2012's Captain America. A fierce fight breaks out between the two, but eventually, the present-day Captain America defeats his younger self and takes the Mind Stone. At the same time, Hulk goes after the Time Stone. But instead of Doctor Strange, he finds the Ancient One guarding it. Hulk asks her to hand over the stone, but she refuses, warning that removing it will create alternate timelines that could destroy the balance of the universe. Hulk insists, explaining that there are far greater catastrophes coming, and he needs the Time Stone to prevent them. Still, the Ancient One doesn't agree. Then Bruce Banner reveals that Doctor Strange willingly gave the Time Stone to Thanos in the future. This surprises her, as she knew Strange was destined to be the best of them. Realizing this must be part of a larger plan, she finally agrees and gives Hulk the Time Stone. Now, Captain America and Hulk had successfully secured the Mind Stone and the Time Stone. But Tony Stark and Ant-Man still hadn't managed to retrieve the Space Stone. Because of this, Tony Stark and Captain America decide to travel further back in time to retrieve the Space Stone. They jump to the 1970s timeline. There, Tony comes face to face with his father, Howard Stark. Meeting him fills Tony with emotion and happiness. At the same time, he successfully manages to obtain the Space Stone. Meanwhile, Captain America discovers the Pym particles stored there. Realizing their importance, he collects them before returning to the present timeline along with Tony. After this, Thor and Rocket travel to the year 2013. Their mission is to retrieve the Reality Stone, which was inside Jane Foster's body. They go to Jane's location, where Thor unexpectedly meets his mother, Frigga. Thor struggles to explain his situation to her. But since Frigga was a sorceress, she could sense Thor's pain and understand the troubles he carried from the future. She comforts him, telling him not to worry and that everything will turn out the way it is meant to. In that moment, Thor extends his hand, and Mjolnir, his hammer, flies back to him, proving he is still worthy. Meanwhile, Rocket successfully extracts the Reality Stone from Jane Foster. With their mission complete, both return to their own timeline. Next, we see Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, travel to the year 2014 to retrieve the Soul Stone. There, they encounter Red Skull, the guardian of the stone. Red Skull reveals the terrible truth. To obtain the Soul Stone, one must sacrifice a soul, a life for a life. The realization shocks them both. They understand that unless one of them sacrifices their life, the mission will fail. Both are willing to give up their lives for the other, leading to an emotional struggle and fight between them. In the end, Natasha sacrifices herself, ensuring that Clint obtains the Soul Stone. Heartbroken, Clint returns to the present timeline with the stone. Meanwhile, James Rhodes, War Machine, and Nebula also travel to the 2014 timeline, specifically to the planet Morag, where Peter Quill, Star-Lord, is present. Their mission is to retrieve the Power Stone. They wait for Quill, who is dancing his way to the stone, and then move to intercept it. But just as they are about to secure the Power Stone, Nebula begins experiencing painful interference. Her memories start syncing with those of her past self from 2014. Because of this connection, her system malfunctions and she collapses. Thanos' forces, alerted by the shared memories, capture the present-day Nebula and take her prisoner. Since Nebula was a humanoid, half human and half android, Thanos takes advantage of this and scans all her memories. Through her, Thanos in 2014 learns everything about the events of 2018. He discovers that he eventually succeeds in gathering all the Infinity Stones and wiping out half the universe's population. This knowledge strengthens his resolve even further. Thanos also acquires the Pym particles from Nebula and upgrades them. Using this, he travels to the year 2023, arriving on Earth with his entire army. Meanwhile, the Avengers place all the Infinity Stones into a specially designed golden gauntlet. The question then arises, who will wield it? Whoever does will have the chance to restore everyone who had been erased from existence. Thor volunteers first, but Hulk stops him, explaining that the immense energy of the stones emits gamma radiation. Using it could destroy Thor. Hulk insists that he is the best choice, since his body itself is infused with gamma energy. Hulk puts on the golden gauntlet and snaps his fingers. Instantly, his arm and body are severely damaged by the power. While Thanos had once used the Infinity Stones without such injury, Hulk suffers terribly because Thanos was far stronger and more durable than him. Still, the snap works. Everyone who had vanished begins returning to life. The Avengers rejoice, but their joy is short-lived. Thanos suddenly arrives in the present timeline with his massive warship and unleashes a devastating bombardment on their headquarters. A massive explosion tears everything apart, leaving ruins in its wake. Thanos, burning with rage, declares that this time his plan is different. He will not merely wipe out half the population. He intends to destroy the entire universe. Then, he will rebuild it in his own vision, where everyone worships him as a god and gives him absolute importance. With this, the most epic battle of the movie begins. The Avengers assemble to face Thanos and his army in an all-out war. Clint Barton grabs the gauntlet and tries to run with it to keep it safe. Meanwhile, Captain America picks up Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, proving himself worthy. Armed with both the shield and Mjolnir, Captain America battles Thanos in an incredible fight. But standing against Thanos is no easy task. His strength is overwhelming. As the battle rages, Thanos' army presses the attack, overwhelming the Avengers. One by one, the heroes struggle and begin to reach their breaking point, almost ready to give up. But at that moment, all the Avengers and superheroes who had fought 5 years ago return to help. The first to arrive is Black Panther and his team. Next comes Wong, leading an army of sorcerers. Soon, every Avenger gathers once again, standing united against Thanos and his forces. The epic final battle begins. During the fight, Doctor Strange looks at Tony Stark and gives him a signal. It's the same sign he showed earlier, reminding Tony that out of millions of possible futures, this was the one chance that could succeed. If they win here, Thanos will be defeated forever. If not, there will be no second chance. This is their last opportunity. In that crucial moment, Tony Stark seizes the Infinity Stones from Thanos and attaches them to his own golden armor. With determination, he declares, "I am Iron Man." Immediately, he snaps his fingers. The power of the stones surges, and Thanos, along with his entire army, turns to ash and vanishes. Only the true heroes and the restored population of this timeline remain. But the victory comes at a cost. The immense power of the stones severely injures Tony. In an emotional and heartbreaking moment, Iron Man succumbs to his wounds and dies. Soon after, the Avengers hold Tony Stark's funeral. All of them gather to honor the hero who sacrificed everything to save the universe. Afterward, Thor leaves with Peter Quill and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Meanwhile, the Avengers decide that every Infinity Stone must be returned to the exact place and time from which it was taken. Captain America volunteers for this task. He takes Thor's hammer and all 6 Infinity Stones with him, and using the time machine, he carefully restores each one to its rightful timeline. However, Steve Rogers had lost 70 years of his life while frozen in the ice. So instead of returning immediately, he chooses to go back to 1945 and live out the life he had missed, with Peggy Carter by his side. In his final moments, an elderly Steve Rogers appears back in 2023. He hands his shield to his friend Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, declaring that he will be the new Captain America. And with that, the story comes to an end. I hope you liked this movie. If so, then please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more such exciting content. Till then, stay safe and keep enjoying.